Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and just kind of reiterate a little bit what I was saying, right? Just that when it comes to attendance, it's not going to be super strict, but I do expect for the online synchronous students to do show up for class because it's very helpful. It will help you all as you study for the quizzes and the exams, as well as also there can be some extra credit opportunities if you've been coming to class more often. So just to kind of reiterate what we were just talking about right now. So anyway, does anybody have any questions so far about that? Or is there anything that you all need to speak to me that's pressing? I know some of y'all sent me some Blackboard messages, which I will get to those. I also will talk to you all about the messaging protocol that we have, because I know some of y'all probably missed that, which is okay. It's the first couple of days, so but we're going to go over that right now, so that way we'll be able to be on the same page moving forward. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to talk about the syllabus today, and then on Thursday we'll go ahead and start with chapter 1, and we'll be working on that throughout the rest of this week, and then probably into next week, because chapter 1's a little bit lengthier. But yeah, what we'll do is we'll work on the syllabus here today. So, but before we start, does anybody have any questions so far about anything that we talked about, or anything that you're not sure of? I mean, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna go over everything right now here in the syllabus, but if there's anything that's really pressing, is there anything you all would like to ask me about, or everything's okay? So no questions so far? Okay, all right, okay. So let me go ahead and let me share my screen. What we're going to do is we're going to go over the syllabus right now. I'm also going to show you all where to find the syllabus in Concourse. So let me share my screen here really quickly, and then please let me know if you're able to see my screen. And again, like I said, it's been a while since I've used this. Let's see, which one is it? Oh wait, hold on, give me just a moment. It's okay, right one. Okay. Okay, so y'all should be able to see my screen, right? I'm here on JagNet here. So when you log into JagNet, let's see the comment. Okay, good, thank you. Okay, so when you go to JagNet, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go all the way to the last app on your student apps, which says Syllabi, and that's the one that says that's the app that. Oh, I'm sorry, it's making me log in. Sorry about that. Hold on. Oh, this is annoying. Do y'all go through this too, where you all have to do the two-step verification process? That is so annoying. I mean, I understand why it's important, but it's like, so yesterday, when I was going out to the high schools, because I was teaching out there, that I couldn't find my phone before I left, and I was like, I mean, I can't like not go without my phone, not because I want to use it, even though that is important, because you never know like when you might need to use it in an emergency, but more so because I need it to access the syllabi here. Okay, so anyway, so this is a listing of the courses that I'm teaching, and then on your end, it's going to be the listing of the courses that you're taking. So let's go to ours. Let's go to Texas Government. I guess let's go to the merged one. Okay. All right. So, or you know what? Yeah, let's go to the synchronous one. So that way you can see the time here. Okay, let's see. I think it's V30. And like I said, as I was saying earlier, online asynchronous students are also welcome to stop by our class. Like I've said before, I used to have online asynchronous students that would also stop by the synchronous classes, and they liked it. They regularly came. So that's definitely something that you're more than welcome to stop by if you are interested. Okay, but anyway, so this is Government 2306. Like I said, we have the class meeting times Tuesdays and Thursdays 1 to 2:15. And what we're going to do is we're not going to go over the whole syllabus here because there's a lot of information that you can read on your own. But what we're going to work on mostly is we're mostly going to go over like the class requirements, what it is you need to do, like how you're going to be graded, as well as some class policies and things like that. But for the most part, a lot of this information you can read on your own, especially since I know like a lot of y'all have probably taken college classes before, right? So, but anyway, let's go ahead and get started here. So, really quickly with the course description, again, this is just like if we could sum up Government 2036 in one sentence, it would be this course covers the origin and development of the Texas Constitution, structure and powers of state and local government, federalism and intergovernmental relations, political participation, the election process, public policy, and the political culture of Texas. Now, before we continue, I do want to ask you all a really quick question. Now, have any of you all taken Government 2305 yet? The federal/American government version of this class? Has anyone taken 2305 yet, or is this the first time that you all are taking a government class? Reason why I ask this is because technically government 2305 is not a prerequisite to take government 2306, but I always feel like, as someone who's been teaching this class for, this is going to start my 8th year, it's definitely something that I would recommend. uh First time. Okay, so okay, that's another good point. Some of y'all are taking it at the same time. So that's actually pretty good also, because that means that you're going to be uh, learning about both of them at the same time, and that can also help you with both classes. So yeah, that's also a good idea too. Um, what I don't really like is when students take 2306 first before 2305. And the reason for that is because while 2306 is its own class and doesn't require 2305 to begin with, I feel like 2306 is almost like a sequel to a movie, whereas 2305 is like like part one of a movie, and 2306 is kind of like the sequel. So, yes, you can watch a sequel without having seen the first movie, but you might be a little bit lost because, okay, Priscilla says took it last spring. Okay, good. So in Priscilla's case, a lot of the stuff that you're going to see is going to be somewhat of a review, because a lot of the concepts that we're going to be covering here in 2306 are referenced in 2305, right? You remember federalism, right? That's something that's discussed. Elections, political participation. A lot of this you probably saw last semester, right? Yes, exactly. So, okay, someone else is showing up here. Okay, let me admit them. Okay, exactly. So this is going to be a review. Now, the main difference here in government 2306 is that, yes, we're going to be talking about a lot of these same concepts that we talk about in 2305. And for those of you who are taking 2305 at the same time, you'll see what I'm talking about. But what Texas government 2306 does is that it expands those concepts and relates them more to what's going on in Texas. So yes, obviously, of course, we're going to be talking about the US Constitution at great length, but even more so, we're going to be talking about the Texas Constitution and some of the similarities and differences between the U.S. Constitution and the Texas Constitution. How is it laid out? What are the parameters of the two constitutions? That's one of the discussion questions that we're going to be taking a look at here within our class is to do a comparing and contrasting of the two constitutions and kind of discuss which of these two versions do you prefer. Do you prefer the U.S. Constitution that's very broad, open to interpretation, allows for Congress to pass laws within the parameters of the U.S. Constitution, and for the federal courts up to the Supreme Court to be able to interpret the Constitution and make rulings based on the Constitution? Or would you prefer a more narrow type of constitution like what we have in Texas, where everything is very wordy, everything is spelled out, there is not really room for interpretation? So that's one example of a difference that we're going to be talking about here in Texas government, because the Texas Constitution is a lot lengthier, much more specific, and doesn't really allow for a lot of leeway as opposed to the U.S. Constitution. And there's nothing wrong with either ones, right? It's just a matter of opinion in terms of which of these two you feel best reflects like democratic values or things like that, right? So, and right. And then in Texas government, we're going to talk more about local government too. Local government is barely mentioned in federal government. Here, we're going to have a whole chapter in Texas government devoted to local government. Let me ask you all this question. What types of governments do you think count as local government? Like, let's see what the class might know. Like, and then some of y'all are probably familiar with this because you tend to see these types of governments more in your daily life as opposed to the federal government. Although we're in a little bit different situation because we live on the border. So obviously, of course, we do see a lot of federal agents in Border Patrol and Customs Border Protection and things like that. But for the most part, throughout most of the country, we don't really see too much federal involvement. It's mostly state and local governmental entities that you see more. Counties, yes, exactly, Priscilla, you're exactly right. Yes, counties are considered local government. So same thing with like cities, right? Cities are considered local government. School districts are also considered local government. So there's a whole chapter that's going to be devoted to those types of governments, and we will discuss what they do, what their purpose is, and why they exist, right? We are going to talk about intergovernmental relations and how the federal government, how the relation, the somewhat, well, not somewhat, usually a lot of times, complex relationships that the state of Texas has with the federal government. We're going to talk about how, Governor Abbott's not too happy with President Biden right now when it comes to the border issue, right, with border security, right? We will definitely discuss that a lot in this class because that is a big issue. That is that, like, if you want to talk about intergovernmental relations between the federal government and state governments, that's a fantastic example. Looking at what's going on along the border and how you have DPS, especially what's going on in Eagle Pass right now with, the creation of of the base they have there, the DPS base, and how they're able to interact with Border Patrol and how there's just kind of like this tension going on. We'll definitely talk about that as well. We've seen a little bit of that here in the Valley as well. But yeah, we'll also talk about voting and the election process and how in Texas government, we're going to go more into detail about the we do talk about political parties in government 2005, but it's looked at more so at the national level. Like I know the Democrats just wrapped up their their national convention last week, and so a lot of the focus in federal government goes to the national parties. But in Texas government, we're going to look at more at the state and local side of political parties, and that's a chapter that I definitely shine in because I have a lot of real world experience when it comes to state and local politics. So let me share a little bit about myself in terms of my political experience. So um, I'm a former precinct chair for one of the precincts over here, precinct 83 in Hidalgo County. So I used to be a precinct chair, but I'm not anymore because they redrew the district lines, and then my house got lumped into no. The gentleman who's the precinct chair now, his house got lumped into my district, so I didn't end up moving. It was him moving out of his, so it just kind of became this issue. But I had a phone call with him. And I said, look, you take it. You've got more time. I'm over here with grad school and a lot of the classes I'm teaching, so you'll do that office much better than I will. But yeah, but I was a former precinct chair for a couple of years, and then because of that, I was able to become a state delegate. So this is on the Democrat side. So I was a former Texas Democrat Party state delegate, and I also was a national delegate in 2020. So the delegates that went to Chicago last week, I did that 4 years ago. Now remember that in 2020, that's when everything was virtual when COVID first started. So we didn't actually have an in-person convention. It was supposed to be in Milwaukee, but then they scrapped it, to make it go online because of what was happening with the COVID-19 pandemic. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't quite the same because of course it was just a bunch of virtual meetings, but I was an actual national delegate 4 years ago. I was a delegate for Bernie Sanders. And speaking of Bernie Sanders, there's actually a YouTube video out there where I'm actually having a virtual meeting with Bernie Sanders, like me and some of my other South Texas political activist friends. If you type in Bernie Sanders South Texas on YouTube, I think it's called Fighting for Justice in South Texas. You'll see that I'm in that video. I'm at around the 30, something like around the 40-minute mark. So you'll see me. So yeah, so I'm in that video. Although I'm a little bit unrecognizable since then because I've lost a lot of weight since then. I used to be at 320, now I'm down to 240. So I'm trying to lose more weight and just trying to be more physically active and just trying to be healthier. So it's but anyway, but it is what it is. But yeah, so just want to show you all a little bit of my own personal political experience. And so I will definitely bring all that to the class. I will share with you all how those precinct chair meetings go, how the state convention goes, and all the different events that they have, and all the different things that you can run for at the state conventions and all that stuff. So I'll definitely fill that in with you all. And then of course also we'll take a look at the political culture of Texas as well. We'll take a look at how that's definitely in the first chapter. We're going to take a look at how, Texas. Let me ask you all this question. So, without having read so far, would you say that Texas tends to be a more liberal state or a more conservative state? Let's see what you all would say. Just kind of just judging from what you all have seen, like in your lives and interactions. Let's see. Bianca says conservative. Okay. Uh, Okay, let's see. Also conservative. Yes, you all are definitely correct in that Texas does tend to be a rather conservative state. Now, there are pockets of, I don't even want to say liberalism, but maybe not as conservative. Like, there are some blue spots like here in South Texas, although South Texas is kind of becoming a little bit more conservative, although they've always tended to be more conservative than, let's say, like Austin. Like, Austin tends to be you know, kind of like more like your California liberal type of location. And we will talk about Austin throughout the class too, not just because of the politics, but also because of the housing situation that's going on in Austin. Have you all noticed that in the last 20 years, Austin has just exploded in growth, right? I actually drove by Austin a couple of weeks ago, and it's just insane how much it's grown. Like I remember when that clock tower used to be the tallest building in Austin. Now it's like small compared to some of the other buildings that have gone up. I mean, it's just insane how much it's grown. But unfortunately, this has also caused a housing crisis where the cost of living has just dramatically increased in the Austin area. And then unfortunately there's been some stories about how, you know, people have been priced out of their homes, like they've lived in Austin their whole life and now they can't afford to live there. And that's just, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how that's definitely an issue that you know, people have some strong opinions about. But we'll definitely talk about all that and how that transpires, you know, here in Texas. But yeah, but for the most part, Texas does tend to be rather conservative. Uh, and there's a lot of reasons for that. We're going to talk about how Texas's history has contributed to that that conservative political culture. We'll also talk about how Texas, you know, for most of its existence has been a rural area. It's been a rural state. Only more recently, in the last half a century, have we seen Texas become a lot more urbanized. Um, and even more so probably in the last couple of decades, you know, where Texas has really become urbanized within the Texas Triangle area. But if you look beyond the Texas Triangle, what I mean by the Texas Triangle is, I don't know if you've all seen a map where if you look at the major cities in Texas, so you've got the DFW Metroplex at, you know, towards North Texas, then going south to Southeast Texas, you've got the Houston metro area, and then moving further west, you've got San Antonio and Austin, and then it becomes a triangle, right? Let me see if I can show you all a quick map so you all can kind of visualize that a little bit better. Let me see. So that way you can kind of see it for yourself in terms of like the way it forms here. Okay, let me see. Let me get one of these up here really quickly. So, um, okay, let me see. Or did I think this is a bigger one? Hold on, because I do want to show this to you all like on a map here. Trying to, let's see. Okay, perfect. Okay, okay. Let me go ahead and share the screen again. Okay, so that way you can see what I'm talking about in a better visual sense. Okay. Okay, so y'all should be able to see this, right? So this is the a you know, a map of Texas with the major cities, right? So again, this is the Texas Triangle region. So you see how it forms a triangle? So again, we've got the DFW area, which is the most highly populated you know, metropolitan area in the state. You know, I'm sure some of y'all have been there. You know, I was there this past summer on uh, you know, for some interviews and some work assignments. Houston Metro is next. So you go down I-45, going down to the Houston Metro area. Not as big because, of course, as you can see, there's a lot more of these suburbs, even though Houston does have a pretty good amount of suburbs. And then moving west on I-10, you get to San Antonio and the Austin area, which this area is starting to grow to where San Antonio and Austin they're starting to kind of expand towards each other. Like cities like San Marcos are becoming, you know, a lot larger. And then other cities here like Kyle and Buda, they're starting to get closer to like New Braunfels and all that stuff. So again, this is the Texas Triangle. This is where most of the state population is at. Now, let me ask you all this question. Here's another interesting trivia question. Does anyone know what? So after these three areas, after DFW, Houston Metro, and San Antonio, Austin, does anyone know what the fourth largest population area is in the entire state? Does anyone know what comes after those three? I want to see if anybody knows this. Let's see, does anyone want to take a guess? What is the fourth largest populated area in the entire state? What do y'all think? I don't want to say if the answer might surprise you, because if you're stuck in traffic all the time, then it probably wouldn't surprise you. But does anyone want to take a guess here? Let's see. Uh, yes, McAllen, but I guess more specifically right here, the Valley. Right, the Valley. We are the fourth largest populated area in these charts. I know the Valley goes all the way to Roma over here, but also there's not that many people over here, which I can say that because my grandmother lives in Roma. Like I have all my family lives over there. But yeah, this area is the okay, Harlingen, right? Exactly, Harlingen, Brownsville, right? All of this area is the fourth largest populated area in the entire state. It used to be El Paso. El Paso used to be the fourth largest, but we now have surpassed El Paso if you take, yes, exactly. The valley is definitely growing. Yes. You see with all the construction and the traffic, yeah, we are definitely growing a lot here, right? So just as some trivia, right? We're the fourth largest populated area in the entire state. Here's another interesting trivia note that a lot of people in the valley don't really realize, or maybe they do, but people outside the valley certainly wouldn't. Did you know that the valley is more populated than some states? Like there's more people that live in the valley than in the entire state of Alaska. In the entire state of Vermont, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming. We have more people that live here than in those states. Just think about that. Montana, yes. Montana's another one. Yes, yes. There's more people that live here than, because I don't know why anyone want to live in Montana. It's way too cold. But yeah, no, we have more population than a lot of those really small populated states. Yeah. So just think about that, right? So population wise, the valley could even try to be, could be its own state in terms of people, although that's not going to happen. But in terms of the amount of people that live here, they could definitely hold their own against, other states and this like that. So yeah, so there's a lot of stuff here that, let me go and stop the screen and then let me go back here. Oh, by the way, I don't know if any of y'all have ever like gone through a lot of these parts of Texas. So last summer, I did a trip where I went to Dallas. I went to Dallas in one day. Please don't do that. I took off here like at 4. I didn't get there to like 1:30 in the morning. And then I took a trip over to Lubbock to go take a look at a trailer. And then I went to Amarillo. And there's a really beautiful place right here called Palo Duro Canyon State Park. If any of y'all have ever gone there, I definitely recommend for y'all to go. It's gorgeous. It's just amazing. And I'm definitely big on state parks now that I've been, being more physically active the last 5-6 years. So I definitely I'm trying to do my best to try to go to a lot of these beautiful places in Texas. I've also spent a lot of time in the piney woods over here, like in Lufkin, Nacogdoches, because I had an ex-girlfriend that lived over there. So I used to drive all the way over. That's really far. That's at least a 7.5-hour drive. That's like from here to Dallas. Um, but yeah, definitely a lot of interest. But the only place that I really haven't gone to Texas yet is El Paso. I know the state Democrat convention was out in El Paso, and I was thinking about going, but it was the first week of the summer one semester, so I just no, I didn't have time for that. So, but anyway, but it is what it is. So that's the last place that I definitely want to visit. I'm in San Antonio, Houston. Oh yes, yes, there. Yeah, I was I was there a couple of weeks ago. Had to take care of some stuff. Yeah, it's really not that far. Like San Antonio is about 3.5 hours from here. Houston's about 5. But yeah, I've kind of gotten used to driving over there in those areas. It's just kind of but it is a lot of people. And the DFW also has a lot of people too. But anyway, but yeah. So with that being said, so like I said, we'll talk more about that. There's a lot to discuss here in Texas government, and we will definitely talk a lot about all this stuff here. So I'm going to stop the share, and then we go back to the syllabus here. Okay, hold on, let me do that. So really good discussions, everyone. I'm glad that we're having some good discussions and feedback so far in terms of some of the interesting topics that we will talk about here in our Texas government class. So, okay, all right, let me go ahead and share the screen here. Okay, all right, sounds good. So let's continue. Okay, office hours. Okay, so I do have some virtual office hours afterwards. So if you all need to talk to me, I'll be available. If you need to set up a Zoom meeting, we can definitely do that as well. So I do have office hours out in the La Jolla area because on Mondays and Wednesdays I teach classes. So if let's say you contact me and it's like a Monday and a Wednesday, I might not be able to get back to you as quickly as I would like because I'm usually out there. On Mondays, I'm out there all day. On Mondays, I'm out there, like I've got my afternoon classes, and then I have the night class, like I said, that I got out really late. So Mondays might be a little bit hard to get a hold of me. Wednesdays also, even though Wednesday, thankfully, I don't have that night class. But for sure, Tuesdays and Thursdays, that's going to be a much easier time to get a hold of me because I don't actually have in-person classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I just have this synchronous class that I teach. So I'll be on my computer pretty much all day on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you need to contact me, definitely get a hold of me. If I do have to step out, I'll definitely be available on my phone. So I'll always have like technology with me in case you need to get a hold of me, and we can set up meetings, or if you need me to respond to emails or Blackboard messages, things like that. That's totally okay. But yeah, so that's my office number. I do have in-person office hours on Tuesday and Wednesday evenings. I might have to tweak these hours a little bit because I might have to spend a little bit more time at the high schools when it comes to office hours. So these office hours might change a little bit. So just keep that in mind that they might change a little bit. So But yeah, I can keep you updated on if there's any changes. So the office hours might not be set in stone, but it should be around the same time, around like 6 to 7. So maybe instead of 7:30, it might be 6 to 7 or something like that. So it's not going to change that much, but I might have to add a little bit more time to the La Jolla teaching sites and all that. Can we still get back into looking at the meeting even? I'm sorry. So you're saying that Valeria, you're saying that you have to leave? Because right, what I'm doing is I'm going to record this and I'm going to repost this. I will repost this in Blackboard. So yes, if you need to leave and you want to watch this later, you're more than welcome to do so. Because right, that's a very good point. What I will do is I will be uploading these YouTube videos so that you all can watch them later on. If let's say you have to leave early, if you're not able to show up, or even if you are here and you want to go back and review something, you're more than welcome to watch the recording. So yes, if you need to leave, that's fine. Thank you for letting me know. I do appreciate that. Just definitely do let me know if you do need to leave. But yes, you can go back and watch the recordings later on once they get uploaded. So okay, but thank you so much for stopping by, Valeria, and we'll hopefully we'll see you on Thursday, and hopefully and you see this is the exact same thing. This is the thing that I was talking about earlier, right? I understand that a lot of you all have these these things that come up with your families and or with work or things like that. So I completely understand. So and that's the good thing about these meetings is that they are very flexible. Like we can definitely we can also schedule other meetings. Like we can schedule like study review sessions and things like that. I do tutoring as well. So if you all want to set up if you all want to set up like a review session, we can do that as well. Because that's the benefit of being able to meet online via Zoom. We can be very flexible with it. So, but anyway, okay, so let's continue. All right, so let's also talk about communication methods. Okay, so again, because I'm usually out at La Jolla on Mondays and Wednesdays, I'm probably not going to be in my office until maybe the evening on some days. So contacting me by phone is probably not the best way, even though because I'm probably not going to be there. Although you can leave a message and then I can access that message through my email. Email is the best way to get a hold of me. Okay, AA Gonzalez at SouthTexasCollege.edu. Very easy to remember because there is no numbers. I know like for a lot of faculty members, they have like numbers in their email. Mine does not have that. The way to remember this is it's the first initial of my first name, the initial of my middle name. Or I'm sorry, it's just not the first initial, just the initial of my first name, and then the initial of my middle name. That makes AA, and then my full last name Gonzalez. So that's my email. I've had that email for many years because this is not the first time I worked at STC. Many years ago, back in 2008, I was hired by STC right out of college to help out with security. Started off doing dispatching, then started to do more supervisory work. So I used to be the I used to be the annoying person that would give out the tickets and then put the boots on the cars, which I kind of missed that. That was kind of fun. Although I don't miss being outside in this hot weather. Like I'm sure the securities are out there like directing traffic and all that stuff. I do not miss that. Plus, I make a lot more than what I used to make there, so it's a win-win. Okay, let me also talk about another way you can message me. So you can also contact me via Blackboard Messenger. Now, I do want to mention to you all that there is a requirement when it comes to using Blackboard Messenger, and I will explain how to do this. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you all how to do this here. Okay, I know there's some messages here, so I will get to those. But let's say I wanted to let me click on here. I don't think there's a message here. Let's say I wanted to create a message here. So here's what I would do. And this is what you all are also going to need to do if you need to use messages. And I know that some of you all have not done this yet, but that's okay because I know it's in the syllabus, but maybe you all hadn't had a chance to read it. So we're going to go over it right now. So then this is now the expectation that I have of you all when it comes to Blackboard messaging. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on, you're going to write a message. You're going to, of course, obviously, enter who you're going to write to. But before you send the message, there's another step that you need to do. You see this box where it says send an email copy to recipients? You need to click on that, okay? So this is mandatory. If you are going to send me a Blackboard message, you need to click on this. And let me explain why. So for the last several years, I have had issues with Blackboard Messenger where I've had situations where students they've complained that supposedly I'm not responding to their messages. And then when that happens, I try to look for their message and then I can't find it because sometimes I don't know why this is happening, but for some reason, Blackboard is very glitchy when it comes to the messages. So the messages end up disappearing. So this doesn't happen all the time, but it's happened enough to where now I needed to find a way to try to remedy this. So this is something that I was able to come up with, or I was able to figure out that would be a better system and a better solution to this. So when you're going to send a message, you click on this and then you type your message and then you send it to me. Okay. You have to make sure that this is clicked. You have the green check mark has to be on send an email copy to recipients. Because what this does is that when you click on that and when you send the message, then I get an email saying that a message was sent. Okay, I get an alert in an email. So that is proof that the message was sent, and then that way I can then try to respond to it. So if you send a message and you do not click on this, then there is not going to be an email alert sent to me. And what I do is I do check my email to make sure that that alert was sent. And if the alert was not sent, then that means that you did not click on this. And what I will do is I'm going to like what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that you're going to have to resend your message until, so you're going to have to do that again and then click on that if you did. And I know some of you all have already done that. But again, don't worry about that. You all didn't know. So just know that from now on, that you have to click on this and you'll get the hang of it. It's very easy, but you have to click on this when you're going to send the message. Okay. And I explained why. I know I'm being strict about this, but it's because there's been issues in the past with Blackboard Messenger. So I hope does everybody understand that? It's very simple to do. Just click on this and then you can send your message and then I'll get an alert that a message was sent and then I'll be able to respond back to you. Okay. So just from here on out, just make sure that you click on this and then we should be okay. All right. And like I said, it is in the syllabus. If you scroll on down over here, where is it located? Right here, Blackboard messaging protocol, right? So we're going to be contacting me via Blackboard messages. Then you need to click on the send an email copy to recipients box, which will then turn green with a check mark embedded within the box. Doing this will send me an email notification to my STC email that a Blackboard message has been sent. Failure to adhere to this protocol will delay my ability to promptly respond to your Blackboard message. Okay. Yes, click on, yes, exactly. Yes, definitely. So yes, definitely. So make sure that you do that. Like I said, I'm not just trying to be mean about it. I've had issues in the past with Blackboard, so this is just a way to just remedy that. Okay, all right. So again, email. If you don't want to worry about that, then just send me an email. But yeah, email and Blackboard messaging is usually probably the best way to get a hold of me. We also have Professor Murray. He's the department chair, so you're more than welcome to contact him if you can't resolve a situation with me first, because the chain of command does say whenever concerns arise between a student and an instructor, the student should first discuss the matter with the instructor during the instructor's office hours. Okay, and look, and I'm gonna always be honest with you all. I'm gonna, I know that this is probably the first time that I think some of y'all may have taken me before, but if this is the first time that you've taken class with me, I definitely want for you all to be comfortable in being able to speak with me about issues like what just happened right now with one of y'all needing to leave, right? You explained the issue and you saw how I handled it, right? I wasn't going to be like mean about that. I mean, I understand that life happens, I've had to leave things early as well. Things come up right now. My grandmother, she's in assisted living right now. I mean, she's 86 years old, so it's kind of expected when you get to be that age. But unfortunately, the body just starts kind of breaking down. But she needs that extra support and that extra help. And so legally, I have power of attorney over her. I have that legal right to make decisions on her behalf because of her deteriorating medical health. So there have been times where I've had to, respond to things. What I've done is I've passed off some of that responsibility to my mom since she's retired. So she'll get a lot of the phone calls from the assisted living center, and then she'll also make decisions on the both of our behalf. But if it's like something really major, then obviously, of course, I need to be the one to make those major decisions. But that doesn't mean that they still don't call me on things. So I understand that life happens. I understand that things come up, and I always want to be as understanding and as reasonable as possible for all the things that we're dealing with. We're all dealing with a lot right now. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, a lot of things that are not too good, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm kind of very disheartened about and have vehement disagreements about, things that are happening and stuff like that. So I understand that it's a lot to take in and it's a lot to deal with. So it's definitely something that I definitely want to try to be as understanding and flexible as possible. So if you do have a concern, please talk to me first. we'll get it squared away. We'll be able to come up with a mutually beneficial solution where I think we should be okay, right? If like I'll give another example. So like let's say you're taking this other class and you have like this major paper that you have to a tough situation. Thank you for of course, yes, yes, thank you for yes, no, of course. I mean, it's my job. I have to still be responsible to you all as your instructor. I have the responsibility to you all, to assist you all as best as I can. That's the responsibility of a public servant, is to always be there for the public. And I wish more public servants understood this, that if my salary is coming from on taxpayer dime, that I have a responsibility to the public that I serve, and I need to try to do as best as I can in that service. So I definitely do appreciate those kind words, and I try my best to be able to be there for you all as best as possible, because you all pay my salary. I have no problem saying that. You all are the reason why I have this career that I enjoy so much. Yes, of course, obviously, I worked really hard for it, but I'm not going to have this job very long if I don't get students to sign up for my classes. So I definitely appreciate that, and I'm always understanding of that, and so that's why I always try to be as understanding as possible. So an example would be like, let's say you had a major paper due, like in a biology class or something like that. I mean, I understand that the math and sciences are a lot harder than these classes. So I definitely want to try to assist you all, not just in this class, but also in your other classes, right? I mean, what good is it if I'm being so demanding in my government 2305 or 2306 class that it causes for you all to not do well in your other classes, and then you don't proceed with uh, your college career and you're not able to get your associate's degree? Do you think I'm helping the college that way if I'm being so like selfish when it comes to uh, just getting what I am wanting out of my the classes that I'm teaching, and then not respecting the other classes that you all are taking? I mean, that would be very disrespectful. So I definitely understand that the classes that are harder, right? The STEM classes, those are going to take priority. I mean, it's just the reality, right? It is what it is, right? The social science classes, they're not as difficult, right? So that's not so like, I don't want for you to make government 2306 the center of y'all's universe. Life is way too more precious than that to be worrying so much about an intro government class. Like, no disrespect to what we're going to be doing here, but there's also other things that take priority, and I am not such I don't have so much of an ego that I'm going to be offended because people need to prioritize other things. I mean, I'm the same way too. There's other things that take priority, and I'm going to do what I need to do in this life, and things like that. But the point is that if something like that comes up, please talk to me, and we'll get it squared away to where we will have a fair and mutually beneficial solution to this. So if you need a little bit more time, if it's a legit reason, then I'll have no problems doing that. Especially when when I've had professors that have done that for me, and I've also had professors that have not done that for me. And so I don't want to do that to you all. I don't want to cause you all extra stress or inconvenience in this tough life that we're all living here. So, okay, so let's move on really quickly, because I know we're already running out of time here. Course learning outcomes, again, we're going to talk about all this. Again, if some of this doesn't sound familiar, that's okay, because we will discuss that throughout our class. We will go into detail. All the chapters that we're going to be covering here in this class do cover the course learning outcomes. So by the end of this class, you should be able to understand all of these here, like we've kind of mentioned here, such as discussing the Texas Constitution, the political culture, and the elections, political parties, and the three branches of Texas government, which are the same that we have at the federal level, but they do have a few differences. One of the major differences that we're going to talk about in the executive branch is the plural executive. That's one of the most important concepts that I want for y'all to understand in Texas government, is the plural executive. It is so important of a concept that interviews that I've had before about Texas government, that's usually the question they ask me. Like for professors, what they usually do in interviews is they have you do a teaching demonstration, and I would say 9 times out of 10, if I'm interviewing for a government position and they want, and we're gonna have to teach Texas government, 9 times out of 10, they usually ask us to do a teaching demonstration about the plural executive. So just to let you all know that, in my opinion, and from what I've seen in other sources, that's probably the most important concept within Texas government. Sorry about that. And so definitely, but like I said, we'll cover that more in detail. again, don't really worry too much about the the core objectives, because you will learn all this and you will demonstrate all this throughout our class, right? So when it comes to critical thinking skills, communication skills, you're going to do that with the discussions that you all write up, as well as the conversations that we have in class and the questions you all ask. That's going to be demonstrated. You're going to demonstrate critical thinking skills and communication skills, through those activities that we do. Personal responsibility and social responsibility, that's going to be accomplished more so through the final project that we have for our class. So you're going to be able to meet those core objectives by completing those. So don't worry too much about it. They are important, but I've already done the work for you in terms of coming up with assignments and assessments that will measure those required core objectives here. Again, the core objective matrix goes a little bit more detail on that. Okay, let's get to probably what everyone always likes to look at whenever they first look at a syllabus. And I just do this myself in my own grad school classes. This is the first thing I look at also, is what do we have to do? Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. This is the etiquette part. That's more down here. Sorry for that. There you go. Although the etiquette part is important. So again, we don't have to spend too much time on here. This is just talking about the requirements. So because this is an online class, you are going to need basically a functioning computer, reliable internet. You're also going to need, a computer. You're also going to need to do the lockdown browser software and things like that. So so that shouldn't be an issue, right? And of course, etiquette is how we interact with each other online. Again, I don't have to spend too much time on this because you all are young adults. You all are, or I guess just adults in general. That's more so for the high school students. But yeah, you all are adults. You all know how to conduct yourselves in an academic setting. This is not going to turn into Facebook where there's a bunch of trolling. I mean, I cannot stand Facebook with the toxicity of it. Same thing with Twitter. So we're not going to have that here because this is an academic setting. So, we're going to have our discussions, and it's okay to disagree. In fact, I encourage it. I want you all to disagree. Because that's the best way to be able to have a discussion. If everyone's just agreeing with everyone, that's not really a discussion, right? That's just an echo chamber. And that's boring, and that doesn't stimulate growth, intellectual growth. So I want for us to disagree, and there will be plenty to disagree of in this class because we are going to talk about some controversial subjects. We talked a little bit about border security right now. We're going to talk about some of these major political issues like abortion. We had Roe versus Wade get overturned a couple years ago. We will talk about that and people's reactions to that and how people feel about that. Right? We're going to discuss a lot of these major political issues here, especially when we got a presidential election coming up here in a couple of months. So there will be plenty to talk about, right? This is a great time to be studying government because we've got the presidential election. I know this is a Texas government class, but the presidential election is going to affect Texas because we, of course, are one state out of the 50 states and probably one of the most visible states in the United States. So we definitely will discuss a lot of this. So I don't want us to shy away from controversial topics. I just want for us to make sure that we're respectful of each other and we discuss these topics in the correct manner, where we respect where everyone comes from. Everybody has their own unique journey in life. So everyone is going to have a unique view on how they see the world. And that is also going to flow into people's political view. But so in my opinion, from what I've studied, not just in school, but also just in life in general, is that the reason why, how like they say, like, oh, don't talk about religion, don't talk about politics, or don't talk about sports, is because those things tend to be a reflection of people and who they are. Like, if you go and you disagree with someone politically, it's almost like you're taking a shot at them. It's almost like you're making them feel like you're better than them, which is not what it's supposed to be. But unfortunately, that's how people take it. So that's why people just say, oh, we just don't talk about it. Well, the way I see it is we should talk about it, but we should always respect where people are coming from. You know what I mean? Like, and try to understand, if there's someone who disagrees with your political viewpoints, then try to understand where they're coming from. I know sometimes that can be easier said than done, but it's definitely something that I definitely strive to try to do so. And I know that in this class, we'll definitely do so as well. So the only thing I ask you all is when we are discussing these topics to be able to back it up with something. So if you want to talk about, like, if we're talking about border security, if you want to talk about, what you think about what's going on with DPS and the interactions they have with Border Patrol, then feel free to agree or disagree with that. But I expect for you all to be able to explain why you agree or disagree with that, just like I would. Just like if you asked me something, I would definitely be able to explain why I am for something or against something or what I think about it. And so I expect for you all to do the same thing. I'm not saying that you all have to like cite a bunch of political journals or things like that, but just give some logical reasons, some logical explanations. Maybe you can share something from your personal life. I know I can definitely say this for myself that one of the reasons why I am very politically active is because I've seen things happen to other people. Maybe not necessarily to me, but I've seen things happen to other people. Like I'm very big on disability justice, even though I'm not really disabled. Um, but I have a lot of friends who are, and plus disability is something that happens over time. Like we are only temporarily abled and we can become less abled over time, right? The older you get, the less abled you are because you're not able to, your body just starts to break down. It's just a natural thing. So, if we have the luxury of growing old, we are eventually going to become less able. So I do feel that disability justice is something for everyone to get involved in because we're not going to be able all the time. We're not robots. We're not invincible. We're not, we have biological bodies that break down. So, but anyway, I could go on and on about that, but I'm just giving you all some examples that a lot of those things that I've seen and things that I've heard from people that also influences my political viewpoints. So, but okay, let's get to the grading criteria. The most important thing that everyone wants to know. Okay, so the grading criteria is pretty straightforward. Let's go to the breakdown first, and then we'll come back up here. So, exams are 40%. Now, some of y'all might be like, wow, that's like kind of a lot. That's like almost half of your grade. Well, don't think of that. Don't think of the exams as 40% because there's 4 exams. So think of it more like as 10, 10, 10, and 10, right? So there's 4 exams. It equals, they're 10% each, so it equals to 40%. So don't look at the 40%, look at more the 10% and then multiply that times 4. So you will have 4 exams here. They are open note. That's another thing I also want to mention, that everything is open book, open note, okay? The exams, the quizzes, everything's open book, open note. I just want for y'all to learn this material, guys. I'm not interested in like how do I say it? Like I'm not interested in you just memorizing it for a test and then forget about it like a year later. I want you all to actually internalize this and learn this because for a lot of you all, this might be the last time that you ever hear this stuff. This may be the last government class that you ever take for the rest of your life. So I want to make sure that you all definitely understand this as best as possible because unlike other classes, this is something you can actually use in your personal life because because you are a public citizen, you're a member of the public, and so you definitely, I'm sorry, private citizen, but member of the public. So you definitely do have the ability to internalize this and use this, in your own personal life, to reflect, political change and political actions you all want to engage in, or maybe group up with people. So, but yeah, so that's why I allow for open note, open book test because I want you all to learn this, not just to memorize it to try to get a good grade. So again, and also there's 4 exams, so that way you don't feel like you're sunk if let's say you do not so good on one of the tests, which I have noticed in the years that I've been teaching college classes that students usually tend to do the worst on the first test, it's not because they're not capable, it's just that they're not used to how the tests are. Every professor is different with test formats and things like that. So, but because I have noticed that students do better throughout the semester they do better throughout the semester, once they get a hang of the tests and all that stuff. So that is something that I have noticed here. So if you don't do well on the first one, that's okay because you have 3 other tests, to try to make up for this. I mean, still take the exam seriously because 10% is 10%. So if you don't do a test, that's going to lock you down a letter grade from like an A to a B automatically because it's 10%. But what I also want to mention to y'all is that in all the years, this is starting my 8th year teaching at STC. In all the years that I've been teaching here at STC, I've never had a student who has failed a class and they turned in everything. The only students that end up failing my class are the ones who miss assignments or they miss tests or they don't turn in their final project. I've had students who have failed every test. Now, of course, you can't get like a 20 on every test, but I've had students, like let's say they get like 50 or something like that, and they still pass the class because they're able to do well, like on the final project, they're able to do well in their discussions. So even if you're not like that good of a test taker, you can still do well in the class, right? And again, and because it's open book, open note, you should be okay. All right. So just keep that in mind. 20% is going to be for discussion board participation. Again, there's going to be 4 unit discussions as well as the syllabus understanding and acknowledgement. Oh, by the way, before we leave, I do need to mention that that is something that we do have due for this week. If you go into Blackboard, let me see if I can show it to you really quickly. Oh, sorry about that. Let me stop the share really quickly. If you go into Blackboard really quickly, these are the 2 assignments that I want y'all to work on here. Let's see, where are they? Where are they? Yeah, let's see. Okay, the discussions. Yeah, let me see. Let me show this to y'all. Okay, so oh yeah, they're listed right here. Okay, so let me show this to y'all. So definitely, so the one assignment or the 2 assignments that I want you all to complete this week are the introductory discussion and the syllabus acknowledgement. So those will be due on Thursday, right? Yeah, they'll be due on Thursday. So for the introduction discussion, just this was pretty straightforward where it's going to ask you to introduce yourself, name, major, thing you like to do in your free time. And there's also an important question, like if you were to grade the government of Texas, what would you give it? Like an A, B, C, D, or F? You're more than welcome, so go ahead and I'd explain what grade you would give the state of Texas and why you would give them that grade. So that's the introduction discussion. And the syllabus understanding acknowledgement, very simple. You just put that you have read and understand the syllabus. And I know there's some people who are already posting. So yes, make sure that you get that done by Thursday. So that way I can mark you as attending for class, because in an online class, the way that attendance is taken, like we're already getting emails about financial aid from the Starfish and all the Starfish people, and they're already asking us to submit this. They sent us an email yesterday. I'm like, really? It's the first day of school and you all are already sending us that? Like, come on, like at least just give us a couple days, like, but anyway, they're very on top of that stuff. So you can't really fault them for that. But sometimes, I mean, it's the first day. Like, I mean, I don't know. It is what it is. I don't work for them. But yeah, so anyway, but for the other unit discussions, there are certain requirements, like there's word number requirements, sentence number requirements, like so you have to do three total posts. The first post is where you try to answer the question, 200 words, 5 sentences, and I'm definitely looking for detailed examples from the readings, right? So if you're using examples to further cement your argument, that's what I'm looking for. And we can go over this more in detail when we have the first unit discussion. But just keep in mind that you're going to have to do 3 total posts, 200 words for the first post, and then 100 words for the 2 responses. 20% is going to be for Blackboard quizzes. Every chapter is going to have its own quiz. So again, also keep in mind that's open note. It's usually about 10 questions, multiple choice. And then 20% is going to be for a signature assignment. It's a final project where you're going to write a mock letter. If you've taken my federal government class, it's basically the same thing, except that instead of a member of Congress, you're going to be doing this mock letter. You're not actually going to send it to them, although you can if you want to. Just don't say that I made you, because then I'll get in trouble for that. But you, as a private citizen, you can. Actually, I haven't had a few students do that. But what you'll be doing is you're going to be writing up this mock letter to any state or local elected official in Texas. So that ranges the gamut from Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, all the way down, to like state reps like Bobby Guerra, Oscar Longoria, Juan Hinojosa, state senator. You can also write to like local elected officials like, Mayor Villalobos in McAllen, or your city council members, depending on where you live, or like your school board members. So what you'll do is, of course, you'll pick a state or local topic that you want to write about. You'll research it, and then you'll write out this letter, discussing a solution to that problem. Okay, so this is the textbook here. I do need to double check to make sure that for those of you all who have bought the textbook already, do you all have access to it or not yet? Has anyone been able to successfully get access or no? Because I do need to double check to make sure that you all are able to get access to the textbook, because once you purchase it, you should be able to log in with the access code, and then you should be able to start reading it. So I'm going to double check today to make sure that that's working. Priscilla, so you already have access to the textbook, so it works for you? I just asked because I want to make sure that I did this correctly, because I'm not the best when it comes to this book programming stuff. I didn't go to college to learn how to program books, like that's that's not really my area. So I just want to make sure that it is working, so that way I know that I did it correctly. But yeah, that's the textbook here, the Texas Politics. So it is an ebook. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to go to Cengage and you create an account, and you purchase the textbook, and then you should be able to get access to it. Okay, so we just have about a minute left. So again, just class policies. Most of this is mostly for in person, but uh, again, this is the topic outline. We might have to push the first exam back already because um, we might have. I don't think we're not going to finish. I don't think we're going to finish chapter 2 next week because we still need to do. Because we're not going to finish chapter 1 on Thursday. There's still a lot we have to cover in chapter 1, so we'll probably have to take more time next week because chapter 1 is pretty lengthy. There's a lot of Texas history that we need to go over, so which is okay because I have a history background. I also teach history at UTRGV, so as an adjunct. So so I'm always fine with teaching history, Texas history. There's even classes devoted specifically to Texas history, like there's Texas government, but there's also Texas history and things like that. But yeah, so like I said, we may have to push some of this stuff back, but it's fine. We can double up somewhere else. It's no big deal. Okay, and there's just a lot of other stuff when it comes to like ADA disabilities and other services that the college provides. So you can read this on your own, and we should be okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, okay. Finally, it's as soon as I finish it turned into 2:15. So okay, everyone. So let me go ahead and stop the share here really quickly, and let me stop the recording.